Tonight, you're going to sleep in a bed that isn't yours. A hotel room, a friend's guest room, somewhere new. And no matter how tired you are, no matter how soft the pillow is, part of you is going to stay awake. You'll blame the mattress. You'll blame the noise outside. But the real answer is far stranger. One side of your brain never actually goes to sleep at all. Researchers first noticed this pattern by accident. In 2016, a team at Brown University, led by neuroscientist Yuka Sasaki, brought people into a sleep lab for 2 nights in a row. They expected the first night to be a little rough. New environment, new sounds, new smells. That's normal. What they didn't expect was what the brain scans showed. On the first night, one hemisphere of the brain, usually the left, stayed measurably more active than the right during deep sleep. It wasn't fully awake, but it wasn't fully resting either. It was doing something in between, something watchful. By the second night in the same room, the asymmetry disappeared. Both hemispheres settled into rest together. The brain had decided the space was safe. It only needed 1 night of data to make that call, but it needed that night badly. This has a name now. Researchers call it the first night effect. It's been documented since the 1960s, but Sasaki's team was among the first to actually see it happen inside a functioning brain in real time, using MRI and EEG together. And what they found lines up with something far older than any sleep lab. Think about what sleep actually is. You're unconscious, unmoving, unable to see danger coming. For almost the entire history of your species, that was the single most dangerous thing a human being could do. Not fighting, not running, sleeping. So evolution did what it always does. It found a workaround. Not perfect protection, but partial protection. A compromise between rest and readiness. Some animals do this far more dramatically than you do. Dolphins and certain whales sleep with only half their brain at a time, keeping one eye open, literally, so they can surface to breathe and watch for predators while the other half rests. Ducks on the edge of a group will do something similar, angling their bodies so one eye stays open toward the open water. The birds in the middle of the flock, surrounded by others, sleep with both eyes closed. Position in the group changes how deeply you're allowed to rest. That detail matters. Hold on to it. You don't sleep with one eye open, but your brain runs a quieter version of the same program. When Sasaki's team dug into what that alert hemisphere was actually doing, they found it stayed more responsive to unexpected sounds specifically, not louder sounds, unfamiliar ones. A door in a hallway you don't recognize gets flagged. The hum of your own refrigerator, familiar and repeated 1,000 times, does not. This is your brain running a threat assessment while you're unconscious. It's asking a single question, over and over, all night long. Have I mapped this space yet? Do I know its exits? Do I know its sounds? If the answer is no, part of the system stays online to keep collecting data. If the answer is yes, that part is finally allowed to switch off. For most of human history, this question wasn't abstract. Anthropologists studying small-scale societies, including the Hadza in Tanzania, have observed something that looks a lot like a night watch built directly into sleep patterns. Because individuals within a group tend to wake and doze at slightly different times through the night, someone is almost always at least partially alert. Not by schedule, not by assignment, just by the natural scatter of when different bodies drift in and out of light sleep. A sleeping group, it turns out, is rarely a fully unconscious group. There's almost always a gap in the coverage, and that gap moves, but it's never total. Your ancestors weren't posting sentries. Their biology was doing it for them, distributed across everyone in the camp, all night, without anyone deciding to volunteer. Now, put yourself back in that hotel room. There's no group around you, no familiar scatter of breathing and shifting bodies that your nervous system has already logged as safe. Just walls you've never seen, a ceiling you don't recognize, and silence that doesn't sound like your silence. Your brain doesn't know the difference between an unfamiliar hotel room and an unfamiliar clearing in unfamiliar territory 40,000 years ago. It's running the same ancient subroutine either way. Stay a little alert. Keep one system online, just in case. This is why the fix is so oddly specific. It's not about noise machines or blackout curtains, although those can help at the margins. What actually resolves the first night effect is repetition. The second time you sleep somewhere, even if nothing else about your circumstances changes, your brain has already done the reconnaissance. It knows this ceiling. It knows this silence. There's nothing left to watch for. This is also why children often sleep worse than adults in new places and recover slower. Their internal map of what counts as safe is still being built. Every new room is more unfamiliar to a 5-year-old's nervous system than it would be to yours, because they simply have less accumulated data about what safe rooms tend to feel like. It's also part of why some people sleep fine anywhere, almost immediately. Frequent travelers, touring musicians, people who grew up moving constantly, often report a kind of fast habituation. Some researchers suspect this isn't just willpower or exhaustion. It may be that their brains have learned, through repeated exposure, that new spaces resolve into safe ones quickly and reliably, so the alert system relaxes its threshold faster than it does in someone who rarely leaves a familiar bed. There's a quieter implication buried in all of this. Sleep was never actually the opposite of vigilance. That's the story you probably grew up believing. Awake equals alert, asleep equals defenseless. But your brain never fully agreed to that trade. It built a system that keeps a foot in both worlds, adjusting the balance based on how much it trusts the room you're in. So tonight, in that unfamiliar bed, you're not being paranoid. You're not overthinking it. You're running a piece of software that's been in continuous use since long before hotels existed, before houses existed, before your species had a word for shelter. One hemisphere, standing watch, asking the same question it's always asked. Do I know this place yet? And somewhere between one restless first night and a second, easier one, the answer finally becomes yes.